Good morning, everybody. Got a foggy morning here. Got the cows over here. We moved them down the road. We loaded them all back up. The trailer, it took us 3 loads this time. Loaded them all up and brought them back over here to this place. This place we got down the road. It's about 2 miles away. It's not too bad. Works out pretty good. We just wait till we work them, and then we load them up, bring them on over here. Sometimes we just do it when we're getting them in the working pens. We always graze through our working pens. That's something we like to do. It makes it a lot easier for getting them up. They always go right in. It's never a problem. But we like to do that. And so anytime we come through there, if we're heading this way, you know, we just put that into part of the rotation. That's what we've been doing all this year. It might not be economical every year, but with the way the hay's been and everything, we've been grazing a little bit different to make sure that we can maximize our grass. So what I wanted to touch on today is a lot cheaper types of feed. This is after frost. We've already had a couple of fairly hard frosts for our place, and it's good killing frost. And this is the point where we're after the point. We're several weeks after the point where most people are going to start feeding hay. You're going to have to start feeding hay. But we're still running our cows in the rounds. We're in November now, and we're running them all the way around, and we plan to do this until December, middle of December, or January 1 even. This is something we've been able to do. Now every year is different, you know, so we always put up enough hay just in case we don't have, you know, just in case we're not able to. But that's our plan, is to be able to run there. This year, we're actually running a considerably smaller herd than we have been in the past. We've got a lot less steers on the ground. We've got a lot less calves on the ground, and we've got a lot less mamas. We've sold quite a bit. So we don't know how it's going to be affected. We may go farther. We don't know. In my experience, we've always run out of grass around January 1. In some cases, it actually rots, and it's too far gone. There's just been too many frosts to get any good. But what we wanted to cover today is this pasture and actually getting deeper into grazing, because essentially that's what we're trying to do. Here in the South, you don't have good stockpile ability, so you have to play with things a little bit differently. And one thing that we've been able to do here, this is all Bahia grass. So if y'all don't know, I've said it before in my other videos, Bahia grass is your absolute worst grass for grazing, okay, for stockpile grazing. It's just awful. It's fine in the summer. It's still not your best forage, but it's fine. It's abundant. It's what we have a lot of. So we graze it, and we learn a lot about it. But in the wintertime, it is the first stuff to go, okay? So because of that, we will rotate our cows differently, and any Bermuda grass or any better grasses that seem to stockpile for longer and will last for longer, we always save those for last. In some cases, like this case, we don't have anywhere else to put our bulls. We normally put them right here. We normally put our bulls in this pasture, but because we're trying to maximize our winter grazing, we actually moved our bulls into our Bermuda pastures by themselves. And then we're going to have these cows. We're trying to move these cows around to graze the Bahia down, because we know that the Bahia will go out first. In a lot of cases, the Bahia would already be gone, okay? So how is it that we're able to still have green forage here, still be feeding our cows? I mean, you can tell the tips of every bit of that Bahia is brown. If you look at that, right there is where it got burnt, but lower it didn't get burnt. So why is it that we've still got a lot of really good Bahia? We're at the stage where this is there's not a lot left. There's a little good. If this is all they had, this would be a little good for a couple more weeks. But after a couple more weeks, all of this brown would be so far gone, there'd be nothing left. That protein would just dissipate, okay? But why is it that we've got so much green? We've got so much green because it was tall. It was that tall, okay? What that does is it offers protection for the lower leaf. So all of this grass will actually fold over like that, and it will offer protection and keep this protected from your frost, so that you've still got an awful lot of green in a lot of different places. This is one of our more poor examples, because this place had been brush hogged and it didn't quite get as much growth as some of our other pastures. I wasn't able to get out and film some of the other pastures, but when you've got a full length, the reason I wanted to show this is because this is a lower grass. This was not a fully mature grass. Now, you don't want seed head. You want to try to keep your seed head off. So this is still good. It got bit by frost before the seed head came on. So that's good. That's your main thing on any stockpile, is you want to think of it like hay. You want to get it to where it gets bit by frost when there's no seed head on it. Once that seed head is mature, all of that energy goes out of the plant and back into the root. Well, now you've got no stored energy. So the frost will actually store that energy for a time. And depending on the type of grass, some grasses do a lot better. Bermuda grass does a lot better. And then there's a lot of grasses up north that does significantly better. The biggest thing up north isn't so much the grass as much as it is in the winter time, it's drier. Now, I get so many people arguing with me and being like, oh, well, Missouri, places like that, is high in humidity. You're right. It is high in humidity, just like Louisiana. The difference is Missouri, once it gets cold, it stays cold enough for long enough that you actually get, it takes away the humidity. It freezes the humidity off, okay? That's the difference. I'm not saying that in the summertime, people in Missouri and in the and across the Midwest and all those places, I'm not saying that those places don't have humidity. I'm just saying that in the wintertime, once it gets cold enough, it stays cold enough long enough to keep the humidity off. Where we have the biggest problem is we'll get cold that will bring that grass to a cold death, okay? But then the same day, we will come back up into 70 degrees. So that night, it will kill it. And in the morning, it will come back up into 70 degrees. So we'll have 70 degrees, 80 degrees, warm weather combined with some rain and all like that through our winters. That's what causes this grass to go. That higher humidity combined with the freezing and killing will start to rot it out. So if you live in the south, you got to remember that. Or if you're moving from the north down to the south, you got to remember that. Things have to be managed differently, okay? So our key here is to keep the bottom leaf alive as long as possible. Keep everything underneath there as long as possible. And so the next thing that does, and this works even better if you've got taller grass than this, if you've got really tall grass along with this, or if you can brush hog 10 inches above the ground, like let's say you've got some really tall weeds in your pasture, use those weeds to your advantage. You can brush hog really high up and drop all of that on top of there. I'm talking about just before your frost, okay? Especially if you can get it the night before your frost, you come in and you brush all them weeds, drop them to the ground. That whole mat laying across that grass will actually keep all of that grass underneath green, okay? So what does that mean for us Southerners? Well, what that means is not only is it still good grazing underneath there, but also we can sometimes get 2 or 3 weeks after that killing frost, well, we're back up into the 70s, sometimes even 80s, you know? So what that means is we can continue to grow. If you can keep that grass alive, it's still growing. This grass has actually started to grow again. It's actually started to come back and start growing again. But here's the best part, okay? Even though ryegrass, everyone knows that ryegrass grows the best if you cut all of this off. So if you were to cut this down to the ground, the ryegrass would actually already be coming through this. Okay, so we all know that if we can cut it all the way down or graze it all the way down, the ryegrass will come quicker, okay? But here's the best part. The ryegrass is already coming up in this. Yeah, it's low, okay? It's small. But what that means is even as this Bermuda starts to get less and less valuable, the ryegrass will start to grow up through it and become more and more valuable. So the value of this actually will last throughout because of the ryegrass coming up in it. Even though it doesn't grow as fast, the ryegrass will still grow, okay? It will grow and it will actually perform well, okay? Once the next spring comes, if all of that stayed there, that Bermuda, that Bahia, Bermuda, whatever it is, if all of that summer grass stayed there and rotted down, that would actually be carbon, and it would feed the earthworms and all the microbes and actually help feed that ryegrass in the following year, okay? But what we use is we typically like to graze all of this, okay? We like to graze all of this grass throughout. We don't graze it all the way down. We'll do a couple passes. But being as it is Bermuda, we will graze it harder than we do, no, I'm sorry. Being as it is Bahia, we will graze it harder than our Bermuda, okay? So for me, I have found that the Bermuda and the, there's another one in there, the crabgrass, both seems to keep its life and will help feed the cattle for longer. The Bermuda is the best. The Bermuda will really last for a while, okay? But the crabgrass will last a little bit longer than this Bahia. The deal with the crabgrass is it dries up so thin that it doesn't have any green in it, okay? It doesn't get any green. So your saving grace when it comes to your Bermuda is having enough height without the seed, enough height that it will fold over and protect that green for as long as possible. And then, like I said, the other technique is if you have tall weeds, use that to your advantage. Brush hog those tall weeds just before your frost. That will protect it as well, and you'll actually protect it for quite a while. And then you can come through and graze for a month or so after several hard frosts, okay? We're actually going to get a chance to see just how long this Bahia will actually last, because we do have we have a smaller herd, but yet we're running the same amount of land through this fall and through the winter. We're going to get a chance to see just how long some of this Bahia grass will actually last. Now, they won't graze all of this Bahia. There will be a lot of Bahia left, but that's good. All that Bahia that's going to be left, y'all know, that's going to be turned back into carbon, and it's going to be turned back into microorganisms, okay? We want that carbon and we want those microorganisms so that we can have good quality forage. We want the carbon and the microorganisms to feed on the forage that is left. All of the carbonist material, we want them to feed on that, because they can actually break those carbons down. Those things that seem like crap, that seem like junk, okay, they can turn that back into nitrogen, okay? An earthworm, all their poop is not only a really good nitrogen source, and they're building that poop off of this junk grass, okay? So that's a good nitrogen source that they're getting to put back into the soil. And that's like free nitrogen if you think about it. It's not really free, but they're turning what was waste into nitrogen, okay? But then the second thing that they're doing is all of their castings are a perfect neutral 7, okay? So if you've got bad pH, and you can tell we've got a few spots where we've got some switchgrass in here and there coming up. Well, that bad pH, that's a sign of bad pH in that little spot right there. Okay, this switchgrass. You start to see this is usually a sign of bad pH. It could be a little bit of soil, just a little bit of low quality in the soil somehow or another. Most likely it's the pH. All the rest of the grass is growing up well around it, so I would say it's probably not a nutrition factor. When I dig around this, I can see good sandy bottom, good sandy soil, which is not something that we get a lot of. This is rare for us. We usually are working with clay soils, but here we've got good sandy soil, and it's good quality forage around it. So most likely this is a little bit of a pH problem. So what's going to happen is all of this, when it breaks down and whatever's left here, will feed the earthworms, okay? And then the earthworms will take that and help turn that back into a pH neutral casting. So if you can get enough of those, you can actually turn your acidic soil back around. So that's a plus. That's something that we're all looking for, okay? You can't do that if you're feeding those fly blocks or anything like that. If you've got those blocks that have that kill off the flies, when they lick the salt block, then it has the stuff that kills the flies so that it kills them on them. The problem with that is it gets in the manure as well. And that is an insecticide, okay? A type of insecticide is going to kill off that. It's not good for your worms. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't actually kill your worm, all right? They've done studies to prove that it doesn't kill the earthworm. what it does do is it actually stunts their reproductive organs. It cuts their reproductive organs in half. Not their organs, but it cuts their reproductive ability in half. So even though it's not killing the initial earthworm, it's cutting their reproductive system, is cutting the amount of babies that they have in half. Well, if you cut that in half and then every year you continue to put out that same block so you can get rid of your flies, now you've got tons and tons of problems with your earthworms. You're steadily killing off your earthworms and your microbes. So that's not something that I'm after doing, because I'm trying to keep as much of my microbes around, because I want to balance my pH and I want to get as much nitrogen that I'm not having to pay for as possible. You know, we've done a lot of videos where we have not fertilized for 6 years. We haven't done anything. Now, I'm not saying that you won't have to, and I'm not saying that you won't have to do that stuff. I'm not saying that you won't have to do something with your pH. We may have to. There may be some places we have to do, especially with them clay soils. We may have to do some stuff, put out some lime or something. You know, so that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that all the help you can get is always a good thing, okay? We've also got videos that we're doing, experimenting with stuff with our flies and things like that, and that's coming out and working out pretty good. It's not 100%. And y'all know we've done videos even on sprays and stuff. We do put fly sprays occasionally, but at strategic times. So y'all watch those videos and you can educate yourself on different things that we do. We've got almost 500 videos now. We've got a lot of videos teaching all of this stuff. So back to the grass. The key to the grass, to the Bermuda grass, is letting it be the first thing that you graze in the wintertime. So get them off of your off of your Bermuda, and put them on your Bahia. Okay, that's the number one thing. Before the frost, try to cover your ground. Cover your ground with either clippings from your brush hog, or let the stems of the grass be tall enough that you cover your grass. And if you're grazing the way we teach anyway, for the most part, that's going to happen. Because you see that right there, that's 50% of that grass was used to cover the other 50%. Okay, so there's a lot of green left in there. And them cows are still able to graze this, and they're going to be able to graze this for a while. Now we've got another frost coming in about a week, okay? So we're gonna see how that affects it. The farther down they graze this and the less protection it has, the more likely it will get bit pretty bad and start to get knocked back, you know? So it's inevitable. As the winter comes on, it will come, but that's why you want to graze your Bahia grass first, okay? And if you have a place and you've got other types of grasses in your place other than crabgrass, Bermuda, and Bahia, then you should experiment. If you're in the south, I mean, we're in north central Louisiana, okay? But it's going to be about the same in Mississippi, and it's going to be about the same in most parts of East Texas. Now, West Texas is going to be a little bit different because it's out west. It's actually drier. So everything out there is going to be drier. And it's possible y'all could do some stockpile out there. I lived out there for a couple of years. Everything's different. Now, it doesn't grow as well because it's out west, but your stockpile could be a thing. And for all you guys that are out west right now, and all you guys and girls that are out there, and y'all have gone through this whole drought and everything, that could have been something that could have potentially saved you. I don't know. You know, it's possible y'all could have done some stuff with some stockpile and things like that. Some of y'all have to do irrigation, but I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of work out there out west as far as putting carbon back into the soil and being able to get grass growing better without irrigation. But I don't live out there and I don't farm out there, so I know it's a struggle for a lot of people living out west when it comes to those things. But that could be something that could potentially help you in the future with your stockpile, is getting, even if you did have to irrigate it, is actually having certain types of forages growing, because you don't have the humidity during the winter. You might actually be able to do quite well with a stockpile forage. I don't know. That might be something to look forward to. If any of y'all out west have done anything like that, I'd love to see it in the comments. I'd love to see what y'all do out there and how you make all that work. And if any of y'all are living near where I'm living and y'all are experimenting with different types of grasses, even the same grasses that I'm experimenting with, or if you've experimented with different types of grasses, I've said this in the past. There's a couple different people who have had very good luck here in the South stockpiling Dallas grass. Okay, the deal with Dallas grass is it has to be grown on your bottom areas. From what I understand, I haven't planted any of it yet. It's very expensive. It's more expensive than Bermuda. Okay, that's why I haven't planted any yet. The biggest reason is because from what I understand, it thrives in bottom areas, but it does not thrive up on tops of hills. Okay, so for us, we couldn't plant it everywhere, but what we have is a mix of tall, steep hills and then bottom areas. We're a lot like Arkansas, here where we are in north central Louisiana. We've just got a little small spot right here in Louisiana where it looks a lot like Arkansas. It's a pretty place where we're at. So what we get is we get taller hills, and then we've got some low areas for sure. You know, I mean, it is Louisiana, so there are going to be some low areas. But we're not like river bottom. We're not like, that's farther, we've got places farther south here in Louisiana that are a lot of river bottom. You guys down south of me in Louisiana, you guys might do well with that Dallas grass. I've considered experimenting with planting some Dallas grass down in some lower areas of mine and seeing how well it grows. If it grows good and it really is that good stockpile, like I said, there's a guy right now I know, he's on the river bottoms in he's in Texarkana, or he's near Texarkana, Texas, and he has had very good success stockpiling all of that Dallas grass, but it's all bottom area. He's got a lot of land. I mean, he's got hundreds of acres for sure of bottom land, you know, so he's able to do things a little bit different. But that is intriguing, knowing that there is a type of grass that can be stored not only here in the South, but also in areas. Bottom areas are going to be higher humidity, so it's able to be stockpiled even in higher humidity. So those are all different things. A lot of people, they'll only use ryegrass here in the South. They'll use. There are some people that's been able to use pure ryegrass throughout the winter, but I think they have to supplement feed, if I'm not mistaken, because for me anyway, if it's 100% ryegrass, those cows start to get the runs until that ryegrass gets taller and more mature. And for us, that doesn't happen until the spring. So throughout the winter months, for us to use the ryegrass well, we need this brown matter. So, but anyway, guys, I've talked enough in this video. I do hope that this video has helped some people. We're about to get to work. We got to clean this. We got to do some work on this fence here. That fence has got some broken places, but that's just kind of part of running cattle and farming and doing what we do. Is there's a lot of lease property we have. It's not just our property, so we have to maintain all of this stuff. And I say we, it's actually all of that part's actually all me. So, but that's fine. It's something I enjoy. I can get out here in the morning, get out, work with the animals. So anyway, guys, if y'all have enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe as always, and continue to check out our videos, and check out a lot of our old videos. We've got a lot of older videos that's got some really, really good content that I'm noticing that nobody is watching. But we've got new subscribers, and for all the new subscribers, we welcome y'all. But I encourage you to go watch those old videos, because there's no new views on those old videos, but there are so much good information in those old videos. Now, I was new at making videos, so there are, you know, forgive me for anything that's, you know, not perfect, but there's still a lot of good information in there. As always, guys, like I said, don't forget, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.